What if science fiction was merely a rehearsal for reality? While Hollywood profited from alien invasions, the real power in Washington maintained its silence. But the silence has ended. From Obama to Trump, the discourse has shifted. It is no longer a question of if they exist, but what they are and why they are here. The alien subject has stepped out of the shadows and invaded national security, sparking a race for files that have remained locked away for over 7 decades. We are living in an unprecedented moment. The stigma surrounding the topic of UFOs, now officially termed UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, is being dismantled brick by brick. Are you prepared to discover that the truth might be far stranger than any Spielberg movie? Or is all of this nothing more than a massive, sophisticated technological smokescreen to cover up military projects that the human mind cannot even conceive? The line between fact and fiction has never been thinner. It all began with what seemed like a casual conversation, but it carried the weight of years of state secrets. While appearing on a high-profile podcast, Barack Obama admitted something that forever changed the tone of the public conversation. There are records of objects in the skies, with trajectories and maneuvers that completely defy our current technology. When questioned about the iconic and mysterious Area 51, he was emphatic in denying laboratories filled with extraterrestrial specimens in preservation tanks, but he dropped a line that echoed like thunder among conspiracy theorists. Unless there's a huge conspiracy hiding it even from the president. This comment wasn't just a late-night joke. It was an implicit admission that, even at the top of the global power pyramid, access to the absolute truth can be filtered through layers of military bureaucracy and intelligence. If the commander-in-chief suggests that information might be hidden even from him, who then holds the keys to the vault? This leads us to question the very nature of democracy and the control over information that could alter the destiny of humanity. Donald Trump, sensing the opening left by his predecessor and the growing public interest, decided to raise the stakes to unprecedented levels. With his bombastic and defiant style, he didn't just counter Obama's insinuations, he suggested that highly classified information was being withheld unjustifiably. Trump promised something no other president has dared so directly in a return campaign: a deep cleaning of the secret archives. He hinted that the Department of Defense and intelligence agencies would be instructed to identify, catalog, and release documents the world has waited decades to see. This promise transforms what was once treated as urban folklore or crazy talk into a high-priority government directive. Trump plays with the idea that the deep state protects these secrets not for national security, but to maintain a technological monopoly. However, the inevitable question arises: why change the tone now? During his first term, Trump had access to the deepest levels of intelligence, and his answers were short and skeptical. Is this new stance a genuine quest for transparency or a political tool to destabilize the institutions he frequently attacks? This clash of narratives raises a disturbing question about the true hierarchy of power in Washington. Some analysts and former intelligence officials suggest the existence of a bureaucracy of secrecy, a system where presidents are merely temporary tenants, while the guardians of the archives remain for decades. These would be the true holders of knowledge regarding extraterrestrial reality, deciding what the Oval Office occupant should or should not know under the pretext of plausible deniability. The great doubt looming over Capitol Hill is whether the Pentagon is playing its own game, operating outside civilian oversight. Stories of unacknowledged special access programs, USAPs, the so-called legacy programs, suggest that remains of recovered non-human technologies may be in the custody of private defense contractors like Lockheed Martin or Northrop Grumman. If this parallel structure exists, Trump would be promising to open a Pandora's box that he himself might not have the legal or political authorization to unlock. The secret might be so fragmented that no single person has the complete picture of the puzzle. While this political arm wrestling happens behind the scenes, the facade of official denial has begun to crumble publicly. Historic congressional hearings now feature testimony from elite pilots who swear, under penalty of law, that what they saw in the skies belongs to no nation on Earth. The UFO discussion reached a new level when reports stopped coming from civilians and started being signed by professionals trained to identify any Russian, Chinese, or American aircraft. We are no longer talking about blurry lights filmed by amateurs. but sightings made by U.S. Navy pilots equipped with the most expensive radar and infrared sensors on the planet. The case off the coast of San Diego involving the USS Nimitz is ground zero for this new era. 4 pilots in F/A-18 Super Hornet jets pursued an object moving in impossible ways. As one of the pilots said, there were 4 pairs of highly qualified human eyes seeing that. They described a white, wingless object with no visible engines and no signs of combustion, mocking gravity and our understanding of physics. These objects, nicknamed Tic Tacs due to their shape, demonstrate what experts call transmedium capabilities. They were observed descending from space into the atmosphere, hovering over the ocean against 100 km/h winds, and plunging into the water without any visible deceleration or impact. For a fighter pilot, seeing something ignore inertia, air resistance, and G-force isn't just fascinating, it's a reality check. If these machines possess a mastery of physics that allows them to bend space-time or manipulate gravity, our current science hasn't even begun to understand how to compete. The acceleration of these objects, calculated by radar on ships like the USS Princeton, reached levels that would crush any human pilot and destroy the airframe of any known aircraft. This forces us to accept an uncomfortable truth. Either a foreign power made a 1,000-year technological leap in secret, or we are being visited by something that did not originate in this civilization. While pilots face the inexplicable, behind the scenes in the Senate, the late Harry Reid was moving the gears of a secret project. He was the architect of AATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Funded with $22 million, the program operated in the shadows of the Pentagon for years. The fact that the U.S. government spent millions on a hunt for ghosts is definitive proof that the phenomenon is taken seriously at the highest level of defense. Why invest fortunes if there wasn't something tangible to study? AATIP wasn't limited to collecting videos. It investigated the physiological effects on humans who came close to these objects, including radiation burns and neurological damage. This proves that the military interest is pragmatic. They seek the technological signature of these objects. If there are debris or recovered craft, the nation that first deciphers this engineering will hold absolute military and energetic power, making our entire fleet of planes and tanks obsolete overnight. If we step out of the political arena and into the scientific one, the landscape becomes even vaster. Professor Catherine Haymans, Astronomer Royal for Scotland, reminds us of the overwhelming scale of the cosmos. Our galaxy has 200 billion stars, and almost all of them have planets orbiting them. Multiply that by trillions of galaxies, and the probability of us being alone is virtually zero. The universe is an ocean of possibilities, and we have only just dipped our toes in the sand. However, science faces the paradox of time. Earth is 4.5 billion years old, but our radio technology is little more than a century old. If a civilization is just 1,000 years ahead of us, a blink of an eye in cosmic terms, their technology would seem like magic to us. Perhaps they don't use radio. Perhaps they use quantum communication or gravitational waves we don't yet know how to detect. We are trying to listen to a symphony orchestra with a toy stethoscope. While we wait for secret files, our robots are exploring our own backyard. The Perseverance rover on Mars is currently drilling into the soil of Jezero Crater, an ancient river delta, searching for stromatolites or biosignatures of microbial life. If we find life, even if it's just a fossilized bacterium on our immediate neighbor, the philosophical impact will be total. It would mean that life is a biological imperative of the universe, not a miraculous accident on Earth. Beyond Mars, the eyes of NASA and the European Space Agency are turned toward Europa, Jupiter's moon. Beneath an ice crust, miles thick, there is a liquid water ocean, heated by tidal forces. Where there is water, energy, and organic chemistry, the chances for life are extremely high. We are sending probes to sniff the water plumes that Europa ejects into space. If life exists there, it will have evolved entirely independently of ours. We would in fact be part of a cosmic ecosystem. The current debate is no longer about the sanity of those who see lights in the sky, but about the competence of authorities to explain these intrusions. If the best sensors detect them, and the best pilots confirm them, the mystery ceases to be a matter of belief. However, Some argue that this entire disclosure movement is a political maneuver. Is the government using aliens to distract from economic crises, scandals like those of Jeffrey Epstein, and deep social divisions? In the end, what remains is the feeling that we are on the threshold of a paradigm shift. If the truth is revealed, our position in the universe will change forever. We will cease to be the protagonists of an isolated story and become just one more culture in an infinite sea of intelligences. Perhaps, as science suggests, we should just wave at the stars at night and keep an open mind. For between Obama's denial and Trump's promise lies a reality that may be far more fascinating and dangerous than we ever dared to imagine. The silence is ending, and what comes next will change everything. And you, what do you think? Are we being prepared for the greatest revelation in history, or are we being deceived by a new type of propaganda? Leave your theory in the comments, subscribe so you don't miss the next files, and remember, the truth may be out there, but the files are in here. Until next time.